Now, this video will play into a running theme on this channel that relates to the issue of verisimilitude in modern media, or rather the lack thereof. And this subject is one symptom of a larger problem, but I will attempt to restrain myself to this one, as 3 days of being sick has left me a bit more rambly than normal. Permanency is a word that we should use more, especially in reference to franchises. I would like to take you back to the Rise of Skywalker, where we learned that somehow the Emperor returned, that somehow he arose from the dead to rebuild the now destroyed empire that should have stayed dead after the end of the original trilogy, but was resurrected because the brainlets over at Lucasfilm thought that it would be far wiser to kill off the EU so that they could remake the OT with crappier characters and more politics. But perhaps you need another example than just one now irrelevant franchise. I give to you the many iterations of the now deceased DCEU. Besides that sententious windbag Zack Snyder, one of the largest problems the DCEU had was the completely borked and conflicting creative styles of the creatives involved, and the fact that every time DC hired a new creative head, they declared themselves to be the one true director of the Snyder League of SJWs. Now, to be fair, this most likely was a result of the Byzantine political struggle at the C-suite at Warner Brothers. The result of this was, of course, no one giving a crap, the general sentiment being that none of these movies mattered because the next creative head would, of course, retcon the previous creator's work, leading to a general sense that none of what happened in one movie would matter in the next. This is one of the contributing factors that led to the death of the DCEU, in my opinion at least. A good example of permanency working was the early MCU. Due to the Marvel Creative Committee and Ike Perlmutter's maintaining of the continuity, we received a setting that did not conflict with itself too much to hold immersion. The head creatives were not playing a game of musical chairs every 5 seconds, and thus the MCU remained consistent in plot themes and style. Sure, Guardians and, say, Captain America were very different films. Yes, I am aware my power of stating the obvious is unparalleled, but read half my comment sections sometime and you will see why. But nonetheless, both were consistent within the setting of the MCU. There were threads connecting them. But the modern MCU? Not so much. Instead of consistency, we have received chaos. Rules that could be bent on certain very specific occasions were broken to the point that the continuity is as borked, if not more so, than the current DCEU. Reshoots, rewrites, and re-edits on films led to them having clashing. Heck, half the time, the creative team is a ship of Theseus. By the time whatever project is finally released, no one there knows what the original vision for the project was. And the result is the confused messes we see all the time, with more plot holes than plot, an inconsistent visual style more gimped than our asterisk president, with pacing problems that would put Jim Sterling at an all-you-can-eat buffet to shame. In closing, the reason these franchises are dying is because no one can trust them to be the same tomorrow as they were today. Why should the fan base be here if the franchise is going to retcon half of itself out of existence tomorrow because they would like to replace 40 years of lore with a sentient forehead? But that's about all I've got for today. Tell me what you think down below. This has been Pete, the Radical Nerd, signing off.